You've done it before. Maybe not out loud, maybe not consciously, but at some point, probably late at night, probably alone, your brain ran a quiet experiment. What if I just disappeared? Not dramatically, not permanently. Just stopped reaching out, stopped showing up, stopped being the one who holds everything together. And your brain didn't just ask the question. It answered it. It made a list. It sorted every person in your life into two categories. The ones who would notice within a day, and the ones who wouldn't notice for weeks, maybe months, maybe ever. And the cruelest part wasn't the list itself. It was how short one side was compared to the other. If you've ever run that experiment in your head, you're not dramatic, you're not attention-seeking. Your brain is doing something very specific, and psychologists have a name for why. The mental exercise of imagining your own disappearance is actually well documented in psychology. Researchers call it relational appraisal. It's your brain's way of auditing the quality of your social bonds by simulating their absence. But most people run this appraisal casually. They wonder for a moment and move on. Some people can't move on. The simulation runs on a loop, and it gets more detailed every time. I call this the disappearance test. The disappearance test is not a fantasy about leaving. It's a measurement tool. Your brain is trying to calculate a number, a very specific number. How many people in my life are here because of me versus how many are here because of what I provide? And the reason that number keeps you up at night is because deep down, you suspect the answer. You just don't want to confirm it. Here's the neuroscience behind why certain brains run this test compulsively. Researchers at the University of Chicago studied loneliness not as a social condition, but as a neurological state. What they found changed how we understand isolation. Loneliness is not about how many people are around you. It's about the gap between the connection you expect and the connection you actually feel. Your brain has a social baseline. It's the minimum level of reliable connection your nervous system needs to feel safe. When your relationships look full on the outside, but feel hollow on the inside, your brain detects a mismatch. It knows the numbers don't add up, and the disappearance test is how it tries to audit the books. It's not self-pity. It's your brain running a threat assessment. Because a brain that depends on connections that aren't real is a brain that's in danger and doesn't know it yet. Now here's where this gets personal. People who run the disappearance test almost always share a specific history. At some point in their life, they actually did disappear. Not physically, emotionally. Maybe you went through something difficult and you went quiet. You stopped texting. You stopped showing up. You pulled inward because you needed to, and you waited. Not because you were testing anyone. Not yet. You were just surviving. But while you were surviving, your brain was watching, counting the days, noting who reached out, and someone you thought would be there on day 1 wasn't there on day 14. And that data point didn't just hurt. It restructured your entire understanding of that relationship in about 3 seconds. Everything you thought you knew about that person collapsed into one quiet realization. They didn't notice. And now your brain runs the disappearance test proactively, not to be dramatic, to never be surprised by that silence again. But here's the layer most people don't see. The disappearance test has a trap built into it. And the trap is this. The people most likely to run it are the same people, least likely to ever express that they need someone to show up. You don't ask for attention. You don't announce that you're struggling. You don't post about it. You don't call someone and say, "I need you right now." You just go quiet, and you wait, and you measure. And the people around you, the ones who genuinely care but are terrible at reading silence, they miss it. Not because they don't love you, because you never made a sound. And now you're using their inability to read your silence as evidence that they don't care. That's the trap. You set up a test with rules you never shared and then convicted people for failing it. And I'm not saying that to blame you. I'm saying that because the loneliness you feel right now might not be as real as your brain is telling you it is. Now here's the part that actually hurts. Some of the results are real. Some people in your life genuinely would not notice if you vanished, and you already know exactly who they are. The friend who only calls when they need something, the family member who only checks in on holidays, the person who says I love you but has never once asked what's wrong when your voice changed on the phone. Those results are not your brain lying to you. Those are accurate readings. And the grief of that accuracy is unlike any other grief because you're mourning a relationship that's still technically alive. The person is still in your contacts, still in your photos, still in your life on paper. But functionally they left a long time ago, and the disappearance test just forced you to stop pretending otherwise. That is not self-pity. That is clarity. And clarity always costs something. But here's what I need you to hear. The disappearance test tells you who wouldn't notice, but it also tells you who would. And that short list, the one with 2 names or 3 names or maybe just 1, that list is worth more than a phone full of contacts who wouldn't blink. The people on that short list are not there because of what you do for them. They're there because of who you are without the performance. And every ounce of energy you've been spending on the people who wouldn't notice, that energy belongs to the ones who would. Stop watering dead plants. Stop measuring your worth by the people who never learned to see you. The right people already passed the disappearance test. You just haven't let yourself trust the results yet. And one more thing, the next time your brain starts running the test at 2 a.m., don't fight it. Let it run. But this time, instead of focusing on the names that wouldn't notice, look at the names that would, and call one of them tomorrow. Not because you're testing them, but because they already passed, and they deserve to know they made the list. Now there's one specific reason why the people who run the disappearance test keep attracting relationships that confirm their worst fear. And it has nothing to do with bad luck. It has to do with a pattern your brain set up before you were old enough to understand what it was doing. That's what we're getting into next.